And now you're about to hear that sound. This is what it sounds like for people suffering with the condition. Play it right now. You hear that? So that's that noise going on all the time, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of what you're trying to do. Kirsty, very familiar to you.
Yeah, I have tinnitus and I've lived with it for the last couple of years, two and a half years. Yeah, I have a benign acoustic neuroma, a little tumour, which I'm having treated later this year with radiotherapy. But anyway, I have tinnitus, and that's never going to go away for me. So really, for me, it's about management. It's a low-level buzzing. In fact, I mean, it's quite heightened.
Can you hear it right now?
Yeah.
You can hear it now.
It's there the whole time. It's heightened because I'm thinking about it.
Yes.
Can't wait to speak to Gladys about it.
Dr. Gladys, tell me what's going on when tinnitus is happening. What's going on?
Absolutely. So essentially with tinnitus, what's happening is your brain is compensating. If you have a hearing loss, if you are straining to hear, your brain is compensating and it's generating this sound in your ear, in your head. It could be either ear, it could be both ears, it could be in your head, and that's essentially what's happening with
your brain is compensating.
Absolutely.
So you're struggling to hear.
Yeah. If you have a hearing loss, that is the reason why. Absolutely. So for 90% of people with tinnitus, they have hearing loss. Yeah. There's 10% that don't. And in those cases, it can be caused by stress, it can be caused by head trauma, it can be caused by certain medications. It might not necessarily correlate with hearing loss, but it can be caused by that. But it's a signal generated by the brain, not the ear.
And it's definitely a horrible condition. It drives you completely demented because you're struggling to hear anyway. There's this buzzing. It's horrible, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you can do for it, though?
There are things you can do to manage. So about 1 in 7 people in the UK have tinnitus. About 1 in 6 have report significant impact. A majority of people do manage well with it, and things can improve if you are doing the right things, for sure.
For example?
For example, cognitive behavioural therapy is a well-known management to try and alleviate the fear, the distress that you're having. Mindfulness can be another strategy. Deep breathing, conscious breathing. If you have a hearing loss, having hearing aids to just try and take that strain away from the brain can also be
I think
useful.
they've suggested that, but you don't fancy that.
Yeah, no, they have suggested a hearing aid. I'm not there yet, I don't think. I'm managing it fine. I mean, I do find it upsetting, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching the show today have it. It is upsetting, and
loads of people on the line, which I'm not surprised about.
You know, it's management, and I sometimes, if I'm in an acoustically difficult environment, say I was out for dinner last night, noisy environment, I have to leave sometimes. I get really upset.
Because the noise is so overwhelming.
I can't cope with it because I can't hear anyone. And Gladys is wonderful. I've noticed already, Gladys, you're brilliant with your lips, because I now look at people's lips because my hearing loss is pretty bad in my right ear. So
let's go to the calls, because I know they'll want to talk to both of you. Alison's on the line in Cardiff. She's had tinnitus since she was 8. Alison, how old are you now?
59.
Oh, so you've had an awfully long time. So have you found a way of living with it, or have you found anything that helps it?
My mum took me at the age of 8 to the hospital, but back then nothing was done. Don't know why I've got the noise, and I've just lived with it. It's absolutely got worse and worse and worse and worse. It's so loud. I work on a ward. I'm a ward clerk, and now at the age of 59, I've noticed it's got louder. I can't hear that. I got to have quiet to hear the people on the phone. I've got. I can't hear. I got to have to look at people to say what they say. They laugh at me because I say the wrong things because I can't hear what they've said.
Poor thing, Alison. Honestly, let's talk to Dr. Gladys and see, is there anything that you could suggest at all?
Absolutely. I mean, with tinnitus, I always find that if you are doing the right things in terms of looking for the resources, the Tinnitus UK charity, for example, it's the only charity in the UK that is dedicated to tinnitus. They've got wonderful resources. They've got the Take on Tinnitus on there. seek that sort of support. If you can speak to an audiologist that specialises in tinnitus as well, they can give you those strategies, those cognitive behavioural techniques, breathing strategies. If there is a hearing loss and you are struggling, Kirsty, like you mentioned, one of the things that can be really helpful is if we can try and take the strain away from the brain when you are in those acoustically difficult environments, it can take the stress out of the situation and actually alleviate your tinnitus.
And is the way that you do that with a hearing aid?
Absolutely.
Yes, it takes the stress out of the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Joe in Merseyside. Joe, it's worse for you if you're in silence, because I suppose the noise feels louder. Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
And I think Kirsty's nodding as well.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I think you also home in, don't you, Joe, into that the buzzing. So I agree with that. In fact, sometimes if I wake up in the night, you might also agree with this, and can't get back to sleep because I start to focus on the buzzing, and it just all exacerbates that.
Do you feel that, Joe, in the night?
No, I think the worst thing you can do is actually concentrate on the buzzing.
Yeah.
If you ignore it, because the other side of it, it's like silence. It heightens that noise. So I have the radio on, television, whatever, and I go to sleep. But I actually had hearing tests a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And my ears are fine. There's nothing wrong with my hearing.
Oh, gosh. Let's ask Dr. Gladys about this then, Joe. So Joe hasn't got hearing issues. So what might be going on with Joe then?
Absolutely. So stress can also be a major cause of tinnitus.
Yeah.
And you may not have hearing loss there. There's a link between the emotional systems of the brain and the auditory systems of the brain. So the more stressed we are, the more we may perceive our tinnitus. But not only that, the attentional systems in the brain can also have an influence on our perception. So when we are fearful of a sound or we're fearful of anything, what happens is your brain hones in more on it. And you think almost that fight or flight reaction. You think, right, I've got to avoid it. You fight it, but actually your brain goes, that's a threat. So it tunes into it even more. So actually trying to address your tinnitus, trying to find a way to improve the relationship between you and your tinnitus can be really successful. And that's through things like
Does it ever just go away?
For some people, you do find that there is spontaneous recovery, but majority of people habituate. So a bit like living by an airport or, by a train station. After a while, you stop hearing the sound. But it's because your brain knows that sound is so unimportant, it's not a threat. So your brain kind of filters it out. But like Kirsty said, when you're in a quiet environment or you're in a stressful situation, you then kind of hear it again.
Let's talk to Jilly. Jilly's in Devon and she is struggling with this. Jilly, sorry to hear it. What's going on with you?
Oh, it's so nice to speak to you. You're such a lovely lady and I love your programme.
Well, you're a darling and you're welcome to phone me every day and say nice things like that. Tell me about the tinnitus. It's really getting to you, I hear.
Well, I suffer from acute anxiety and I haven't been out of my house since about 2021. I only go out to walk my dog, but my tinnitus is really bad and it gets worse in the evenings.
Is that normal to get worse in the evenings?
It can do when we are tired, when we are less engaged in situations. And I find that a lot of people with tinnitus, sadly, start to withdraw and isolate. And what that can do is then actually make you tune into your tinnitus more. And that's what we want to really try and avoid if possible. If we can try and engage.
Kirsty's feeling the similar urge.
I think it's that word exacerbate. I think the more you tune into it, the more you think. I mean, I try and ignore mine as much as possible. But I do have, I absolutely, Jilly, I get it. I have days where the buzzing is really loud, especially if I'm stressed or it's been noisy, and then I'm at that sort of like post, I don't know where I am after. Maybe it's quiet, but I can hear the ringing is worse after a very noisy environment. I really can't go in noisy environments.
Gosh, it really is. This is a
it
really
does affect
hell
your
of a
life,
thing, isn't it?
for
It really.
sure.
How many people would you say have it in this country?
1 in 7 of us.
1 in 7. So you're not alone. I don't know if that makes you feel better or worse. Let's talk to Ira very, very quickly in Birmingham. Ira, it's a ringing noise. It's every day, I hear.
Yep. Hello, everybody. Thank
Hello
you.
there. And what have they said about it to you? What can you do?
Well, I don't really know. I've never spoke to my doctor about it or anything, apart from once a few years ago, and it sort of brushed it off like nothing.
My love, I'm going to have to stop because we're running out of time. But Ira's seen a doctor, and next step, just very quickly.
I would seek help from a tinnitus specialist that specialises, or an audiologist that specialises in tinnitus, or go onto the Tinnitus UK website. They have an immense amount of resources there to help you.
Yes, well, I mean, it's obviously a really enormous issue, isn't it? And I wanted you to say, and there's this wonderful cure. And this is what to do, but it's not like that, is it? Unfortunately.
There is no medical cure, unfortunately.
Do you feel better just sitting next to Dr. Gladys?
I love
though?
her.
She's
Can
lovely.
you come
isn't
home
she?
with
I feel
me
the
and
same. We love you.
I'm going to take your number.
Thank
I'll
you
ring
so
you.
much to Dr. Gladys, Sanda, and to Kirsty Gallacher, who's been a lovely guest.